In this video, I'll be doing an overview of the 2000 to 2006 Suburbans, or 9th gen. So let's get right into it. So this beauty is a 2005 Chevy Suburban with the Z71 package. You guys have seen this in videos before. This is my personal Suburban with over 300,000 miles. This is the 9th gen Suburban, and in my opinion, the most reliable. So we'll kind of get into that, but this one's set up just like we do with our other rigs. You know, it has 33-inch tires, lift, Bilstein shocks, and rides great. G80 limited slip rear end, and the interior is just a normal Suburban. I need to work on it. Got like a tear over there, I think, and this one is built out. So just a quick little overview of this particular Suburban. But from 2000 to 2006 were these year ranges, and I think they did a very good job on a lot of things. Engine options were 5.3 liter, 6.0, or the 8.1, and 3/4 tons were available for all of these years. This one is a half-ton, but 3/4 tons were. So in the half-ton versions, they had the 5.3 liter, and also on the Escalade and Denali versions, they had they were full-time all-wheel drive on those ones, but they had the 6.0. And in the 3/4 ton offering, you had the 6.0 or the 8.1 as your options. So those were all the kind of engine options he had. In half-ton Suburbans, 4L60E transmission. For the Cadillac and Denali half-ton, you had 4L65 transmission. And then for the 3/4 tons, you had a 4L80. So those are the transmissions offered. And suspension, for the half-ton, they had rear coil, front torsion bar. For the 3/4 ton, rear leaf, front torsion bar. And transfer case, what are these? NP8s? Oh, I forgot the... Anyway, so transfer cases on these were high and low range for the half and 3/4 ton Suburban and Yukon XL. And then you had the Denali and Escalade, which were a full-time all-wheel drive. It was a Borg Warner transfer case, and those did really well too. Something to think about on these transfer cases, though, on the one for in this one, I think NP8, like I said, could be wrong. I'll have to double check that, but you would wear a hole through the case. So that was definitely a con of some of the design on these. I've had to replace quite a bit of those transfer cases, actually. They'll just wear a hole through, and the pump does, and it starts leaking, and you can't just, you know, fix it like that. So you got to replace either that whole casing or just the transfer case. And I always just replace the transfer case because of, you know, labor cost and everything. So this engine is my favorite as far as reliability goes. The 5.3 or 6.0, they are fantastic. In my mind, most reliable engine ever made. And that's... Some would think I'm crazy, but as far as longevity too, I mean, you see these things all the time. I just went and looked at... I was going to go look at a Tahoe. Had 380,000 here locally. I've seen them over 500. This one has over 300. They're just fantastic. It's a fantastic drivetrain. So the 5.3 and 6.0, especially in my mind, just had very little problems. They had, you know, just like anything, little stuff would go. I think my most common fixes on this gen are evap stuff. So, you know, in the back you have an evap canister and it gets, you know, dirt. It's kind of a poor location just across all the GM. And then, you know, like just different evap, like evap leak or something like that. So like emissions type stuff. I feel like that's the most common problem that I'm dealing with. Nothing, you know, like big mechanically. Some other things that on this gen that can go wrong, I'd say, are, you know, transmissions can go out on any car, but, you know, this one, they're more common than, I guess, some. This one went out at 280,000 miles, so I guess it just kind of depends on, you know, what you think is a year, you know, like a mileage. But so this one went all the way to 280. I think that's fantastic for a transmission. I've seen them go out earlier, so it just kind of depends. Engine wise, 9 times out of 10 the engine is going to outlast the transmission on these for sure. That's definitely a true statement. And then what I really love about these is, I mean, they ride really well, which is cool, but the maintenance cost and just parts availability across the board on Suburbans, but I feel like even more on these. They're just so available. You can walk into any parts store and you're going to be able to get anything you want. I mean, even transmissions and stuff you can get like next day. I mean, it's crazy. So you could be broken down, you know, a major thing, and then bam, your transmission is there. And people, you know, mechanics know these vehicles, not because they're always at the shop necessarily, but there's just so many of vehicles on the road with this drivetrain, because this shared, you know, the Silverado, Sierra, and a bunch of the, you know, the full-size GM lineup sold really well, especially in this year range. And so that's really comforting when you want a vehicle, you know, adventure vehicle. Some other, I guess, pros and things that I like about, I mean, I like the styling. I think they're good. I think the Z71s are my favorite styling for this year range. And they're comfy, like the seats. I mean, this seat, I guess another thing to talk about is these seats do go. I replace these all the time. So like this is an original leather seat and they just kind of do their thing, Mother Nature. But the seats on these things are just so comfortable. And and also steering wheel controls started in 03, so people like that. So it's kind of got a little bit more modern things to it. And then these had the back hatch, which, you know, a lot of people like. This is obviously it's all built out, but usually there's a third row seat back here. But this is what you can expect from, you know, our build outs. Spare tire is underneath the vehicle, and you can put a full size, you know, a 33-inch, which is really cool. So 2000 and up, the spare was underneath. 99 and older, it was inside the vehicle, which obviously when we build them out gets a little annoying. So that's another thing to think about, I guess. That's a pro, your spares underneath. But other than that, really just drivetrain. These are just fantastic. So it's really hard to go wrong buying a Suburban of this gen. And also on the suspension, it is independent front suspension that started in 92. So they ride just really good on the road. They drive, you know, like a car, and they don't feel overly big. And yeah, just the drivability of these is up there for sure. The next gen got a lot more, you know, horsepower, and things like that. But it's just as far as a solid, reliable vehicle that gets decent fuel economy for how big it is, like, pretty tough to beat these. All right, that concludes this tour of the 9th gen 2000 to 2006. Probably my, I wouldn't say favorite gen, but I would say the one that we sold the most. And the reason we've sold the most of them is because, you know, they're out there. There's a lot of these things on the road, so there's a lot of them available for me to buy. And to me, they're the most reliable Suburban generation ever made. So everyone's got their own opinion, but I think it's tough to beat the drivetrain of these things. They're incredible. That cannot be understated. The drivetrain is fantastic, and that's even comparing it to like the more legendary like Toyota stuff. I would way rather, as far as, you know, long term even, these Suburbans, this 2000 to 2006, they're fantastic, and they're just kind of not on people's radar for reasons, and I get it. But so if I were you and you wanted to get into a Suburban and you were fine with an older rig like these, and you had a little bit of mechanical knowledge but not a lot, and you were fine with having someone else work on your car, like this is a really good sweet spot as far as maintenance costs and things go. Of course, things happen, like it's a mechanical car, it's a car. Cars break down, stuff happens. But as a general statement, it's really tough to beat these things as far as reliability goes. So hopefully that helps out. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, leave them below. I'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed watching this, please subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I can do more of these videos later on, but please subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.